UFOs and the cover-up, with more and more social media sites showing all the activity of UFO sightings around the world, and especially in the United States. How more and more agencies and government departments trying to cover up these sightings.
There are 24 hours in a day. 1/3 of the day is spent in bed. And why not be in the most comfortable you can get? Layla mattresses are more than just a foam mattress. They are copper infused and flippable. That's right, flippable. If you like a harder mattress, use one side. If you like a softer mattress, flip it over and voila. And the great thing about Layla is getting to try it out for 120 nights. That's right, 4 months. And if you decide that you don't like the mattress, Layla will pick up the cost of shipping it back and give you a full refund. Layla also offers bamboo sheets, weighted blankets, and memory foam pillows. And if you act soon, you can take advantage of their spring sale. $150 off a mattress and 2 free pillows. That's a $300 value. Plus, they are offering $30 to $50 off accessories. If you would like to take advantage of this great deal, simply follow the link in the show notes to let them know we sent you and to help support the show. Layla Sleep, thoughtfully designed for the most cool, clean, comfortable sleep imaginable. Need something delivered? Do you need dinner? Groceries? Did you forget to stop and buy that bottle of tequila? Postmates is here for you. If you haven't tried Postmates before, we have a great deal for you. Just by setting up a new account and using the code INDIEFOOD, you will be eligible for $100 in delivery fee credits for the first 7 days of your membership. Don't wait. Go to Postmates.com and use the code INDIEFOOD. That's INDIEFOOD. Postmates. Anything, anytime, anywhere. Postmate it.
Are you shopping to find your thing? Is your thing stickers, t-shirts, posters? Is your thing wall art, clothing, home and living, phone cases? Are you shopping for your kids and babies? How about stationery? Many other gifts. You can find all these at Redbubble, redbubble.com. Get the app and save 20% at redbubble.com. Find your thing. Click on the link in the show notes. That's Redbubble, redbubble.com. Hello, I'm your host, Al Cooley, host of Ghost in the Valley, a member of the Indie Blast Podcast Network. In 1994, there were numerous UFO sightings over Trumbull County. I did a 4-part series on this last year, so go back in my archives and check out the UFOs over Trumbull County episodes. And we will get into that a little bit later, but what I want to start out with are the cover-ups that are happening today, and why the media and the government are trying to cover this up. A few episodes ago, there was an episode on SWAT, and in that episode, very discreetly tried to cover up a sighting that these 2 investigators brought to their attention. A member of the SWAT team told them, nobody believes in UFOs. And they went on later in the show to prove that due to maybe intoxication or being high or under the influence was the reason why a lot of these sightings were reported in the first place. This goes on every day. The government is constantly rebuking the sightings by the general public, by military pilots, and I'm going to get to a couple sightings that just happened not long ago. Chris Mellon spent about 20 years in the federal government, serving in various national security positions. For the first time, he speaks out publicly about his experiences within the government as they relate to the UFOs. It's unusual for a man in Chris's position to speak out about UFOs. So this story has a lot of weight to it. His positions during the Clinton and Bush administrations involved high clearances at DoD Chris served on a small committee that provided oversight of all DoD special access programs in order to eliminate potential waste and duplication. The oversight included visits to Area 51 and other sensitive facilities. He also spent over a decade on the Senate Intelligence Committee, involved in the oversight of NRO, CIA, and NSA, and other intelligence organizations. He became the first congressional official to review all of the NSA's compartmented programs. Matter of fact, Hillary Clinton's implications that the government may be withholding classified UFO documents. Backed by John Podesta, chairman of her campaign, Clinton has been speaking about the need to get to the bottom of the UFO mystery. Her comments are unprecedented within a presidential campaign. Here was a few questions. When did you first become interested in UFOs? Chris Mellon, his reply was, I was about 7 years old, and I saw an old-fashioned amateur movie taken by a friend of our school principal. It showed a huge golden disc-shaped object serenely passing through cumulus clouds in a manner that would be very hard to fake. I had no idea what became of the movie, but it filled me with wonder and awe. And eventually I did research projects on UFOs in college. For a physics professor, I remained deeply intrigued. Here were a few things that Chris Mellon had to say recently. It was something I didn't reveal to colleagues until I got to know them well and we became personal friends. Even then, of course, I wasn't a nut about it, and I certainly was not obsessed. It was simply a subject of great curiosity. I was focused like a laser on my duties 99.9% of the time. I remember instances when White House officials sought briefings on highly compartmented DoD programs and were flatly refused. Access to such programs is on a need-to-know basis. In general, officials like John Podesta and Hillary Clinton can easily serve for years in senior positions and be avid consumers of classified intelligence, but never obtain access to DoD compartmented programs, which mostly relate to new weapons systems. I highly doubt DoD or any other government agency is concealing UFO information. I participated in a comprehensive review of DoD's black programs and spent over a decade conducting oversight of the National Foreign Intelligence Program, an almost totally separate world of secrets. I visited Area 51 and other military intelligence and research facilities. During all these years, I never detected the faintest hint of government interest or involvement in UFOs. While a few previously overlooked documents might turn up, I do not believe they would resolve the UFO issue or provide significant new insights. I can think of one lengthy UFO report that is classified only due to concerns over sources and methods. In fact, it identified a convincing conventional explanation for the pilot sightings in the particular case. There are lots of classified documents related to activities at Area 51, where high security is needed. But this is all legitimate stuff the American people would support. They have nothing to do with UFOs to the base of my knowledge. There were a handful of incidents knowing of my interest in UFOs. A breathless naval aviator called me one day to report that he was present minutes after when a Navy jet landed after being circled by a UFO in broad daylight. The Navy did not pursue the issue as far as I could tell. I also recall the Maui Optical Facility, which tracks satellites, recording a flight of 4 or 5 UFOs traversing the night sky. Nobody knew what to make of it, but no government official expressed the slightest interest even after the tape was featured on ABC's Nightline. I found the utter lack of scientific curiosity due to political correctness highly frustrating. I think that conspiracy theorists will be angry and unconvinced, while the general public may conclude UFOs are not a worthwhile topic. I think we have to ask ourselves a key question and then bring it forward. Are there UFO cases that are significantly well documented to warrant a scientific investigation? In my view, the answer is yes. The patterns and the data are too strong. Finally, when someone you trust and respect, like a naval aviator, looks you in the eye and tells you he saw something truly extraordinary at close range, it's hard not to take his testimony seriously. It is arrogant, unreasonable, and unwise to dismiss such reports. we should simply and impartially follow the trail wherever it leads. Now, before getting into one of the latest Navy sightings by pilots, military, and captured on video, I'm going to look back on the 1994 incident over Trumbull County, Ohio. Here you had, in December 1994, a 2-night span of numerous UFOs that eventually resulted in over 10 different law enforcement officers chasing this thing. I mean, you had county police, you had the city police, you had state police. They're all chasing these UFOs. Numerous sightings were being called in by residents of Youngstown, Girard, Warren, Niles, Allen, Champion, of these UFOs that were being sighted. It's all recorded on the 911 calls into the Liberty Police Department, who referred to these calls as kooks or definitely something's in the water. But then the calls started coming in from their own law enforcement officers. I mean, they were sighting these objects over top their vehicles, a bright light shining down on their vehicles. Law enforcement. You had the news, the local news there, and nobody took this serious. It didn't even make the news. But I knew a few of the officers that chased these UFOs personally, and what they told me off the record was unbelievable. And what they put in the report was definitely different than what they told me. And I know another individual who works for the Department of Defense and basically told me that in a classified situation, these don't need to be put public. Because a lot of these UFOs were coming over the Air Force Reserve Base in Vienna, Ohio. So if you listen to the 911 calls from that night, and they're on my podcast, UFOs over Trumbull County, if you have a chance, take a look back and listen to those. Or you can check it out yourself on YouTube. And that's just one case of a cover-up that I know of. And a lot of times the police were told that it was a weather balloon. I have never seen a weather balloon go from 35 miles an hour to Mach speed. It doesn't add up to me. And now we're going to get to some 20 years later, just a couple years ago, on the sightings that the Navy reported. Here was a report that happened in May of 2019, and this is from Lieutenant Ryan Graves. These things would be out there all day. Keeping an aircraft in the air requires a significant amount of energy. With the speeds we observed, 12 hours in the air is 11 hours longer than we expected. The strange objects, one of them, like a spinning top moving against the wind, appeared almost daily from the summer of 2014 to March 2015, high in the skies over the East Coast. Navy pilots reported to their superiors that the objects had no visible engine or infrared exhaust, but they could reach 30,000 feet and hypersonic speeds. These would be out there all day. And Lieutenant Graves flies an FA-18 Super Hornet. He has been with the Navy 10 years, and who has reported his sightings to the Pentagon and to the Congress. In late 2014, a Super Hornet pilot had a near collision with one of these objects, and an official mishap report was filed. Some of the incidents were videotaped, including one taken by a plane's camera in early 2015. That shows an object zooming over the ocean as pilots question, what are they watching? Wow, what was that, man? Look at it fly. No one in the Defense Department is saying that the objects were from outer space, and experts emphasize that earthly explanations can generally be found in such incidents. Lieutenant Graves and 4 other Navy captains who said in the interviews with the New York Times that they saw the objects in 2014 and also in 2015 in training maneuvers over Virginia to Florida off the aircraft carrier Theodore Roosevelt. Make no assertions, but the objects have gotten the attention of the Navy, which earlier this year sent out new classified guidance for how to report what the military calls unexplained aerial phenomena, or unidentified flying objects. Joseph Gradisher, a Navy spokesman, said the new guidelines was an update of instructions that went out to the fleet in 2015 after the Roosevelt incidents. There were a number of different reports, he said. Some cases could have been commercial drones. He said, but in other cases, we don't know who's doing this. We don't have enough data to track this. So the intent of the message to the fleet is to provide undated guidance on reporting procedures for suspected intrusions into our airspace. The sightings were reported to the Pentagon's shadowy, little-known identification program. Lieutenant Graves still cannot explain what he saw in the summer of 2014. He and Lieutenant Danny Acoin, another Super Hornet pilot, were part of a squadron, the VFA-11 Red Rippers, out of the Naval Air Station, Oshina, Virginia. Lieutenant Graves and Acoin spoke on the record to the Times about the objects. 3 other pilots in the squadron also spoke to the Times about the objects, but declined to be named. Lieutenant Graves and Acoin, along with former American intelligence officers, appear in a 6-part History Channel series, Unidentified, inside America's UFOs investigation. The pilots began noticing the objects after their 1980s era radar was upgraded to a more advanced system. One after another, these fighter jets got the new radar, and pilots were beginning to pick up the objects, but ignoring what they thought were false radar tracks. People have said strange stuff in military aircraft for decades, Lieutenant Graves said. We are doing this very complex mission to go from 30,000 feet, diving down. It would be a pretty big deal to have something up there. But he said the objects persisted, showing up at 30,000 feet, 20,000 feet, even sea level. They could accelerate, slow down, and then hit supersonic, hypersonic speeds. Lieutenant Acoin said he interacted twice with the objects. The first time after picking up on the subject of his radar. He set his plane to merge with it, flying 1,000 feet below it. He said he should have been able to see it with his helmet camera, but could not, even though his radar told him it was there. A few days later, Lieutenant Acoin said a training missile on his jet locked on the object, and his infrared camera picked it up as well. I knew I had it. I knew it was not a false hit, he said, but still I could not pick it up visually. At this point, the pilot said they speculated that the objects were part of some classified and extremely advanced drone program. But then pilots began seeing the objects in late 2014. Lieutenant Graves said he was back at his base in Virginia Beach when he encountered a squadron mate just back from a mission with a look of shock on his face. He said he was stunned to hear the pilot's words. I almost hit one of those things, the pilot told Lieutenant Graves. The pilot and his wingmen were flying in tandem about 100 feet apart over the Atlantic east of Virginia Beach when something flew between them, right past the cockpit. It looked to the pilot, Lieutenant Graves said, like a sphere encasing a cube. The incident so spooked the squadron that an aviation flight safety report was filed, Lieutenant Graves said. The near miss he and other pilots interviewed angered the squadron and convinced them that the objects were not part of a classified drone program. Government officials would know fighter pilots were training in the area, and they would not send drones to get in their way. It turned from a potentially classified drone program to a safety issue. It was going to be a matter of time before someone had a mid-air collision. What was strange, Lieutenant Graves said, was that the video showed objects accelerating to hypersonic speed, making sudden stops and sudden turns, something beyond the physical limits of a human crew. Speed doesn't kill you, Lieutenant Graves said. Stopping does, or acceleration. And what they thought the objects were, the pilot refused to speculate. We have helicopters that can hover, Lieutenant Graves says. We have aircraft that can fly at 30,000 feet and right at the surface. But combine all that into one vehicle of some type with no jet engine or no exhaust plume? We're here to do a job with excellence, not to make up myths. So why is it that we still have TV programs and officials and government downplaying these objects. The next time you see a flying object in the sky and it hovers over your house and then out of sight at hypersonic speed, it's all in your imagination. So to close out today's program, the bottom line is there's hundreds of these objects flying over the earth, over America, over Russia, over China. They're being reported, they're being seen. We are made to believe that it's just in your imagination, just an illusion, just a weather balloon, a drone that can fly 30,000 feet, hypersonic speed. I will be back with more updates, more UFO sightings, and, most importantly, the truth. I'm your host, Al Cooley, with Ghosts in the Valley.
Nerd with a Phone 1 here, otherwise known as Charles, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter. But I also host a podcast called Nerd with a Phone Podcast, and the number one question any podcaster gets, what is your podcast about? Well, I cover entertainment, news, music, video games, television, comic books, and other hobbies. We say get nerdified. What does it mean? It means we get happy. Alright, check out Nerd with a Phone Podcast on indieblastnetwork.com. Also check out Everyone Has a Story and the other great podcast here on the Indie Blast Network. Thank you.
Do you love a good story? If you do, check out Stories of Yore and Yours. I'm Sean Ennis, and each week on Stories of Yore and Yours, I narrate a classic short story, adding music and sound effects to bring those stories new life. The back catalog features stories by the likes of Edgar Allan Poe, Kurt Vonnegut, Rudyard Kipling, Mark Twain, Ray Bradbury, and many more. And in addition to classic short stories, I feature original stories by you, the listener. So if you do love a good story, give Stories of Yore, that's Y-O-R-E, and Yours, that's Y-O-U-R-S, a listen today. And visit the show at SYY Podcast on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram to submit your own stories, requests for classic short stories, or just to say hi. That's Stories of Yore and Yours, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Have you ever passed someone on the sidewalk and wondered what their story is? What makes them tick? What makes them who they are? I'm Nathan Wade, and I'm the host of Everyone Has a Story podcast. Each week we interview an average person and explore the events that have impacted, shaped, and molded them into the individuals they are today. In this world of vicious social media rants and bitter partisan politics, we need to put the Facebook down, shut the Fox News or CNN off, and take our neighbor a plate of cookies. Now, I'm trying to do my small part here to bring people a little closer together. So grab your favorite beverage, find a comfy chair, and join me in on the conversation. Everyone Has a Story releases a new episode every Monday morning. You can subscribe on iTunes, Spotify, Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. You can also listen and subscribe at everyonehasastorypodcast.com. Remember, everyone is unique. Everyone has a story. What's yours?
Good evening, ma'am.
Hey, y'all.
What can I do you for?
Can I have a glass of Chardonnay?
I'm sorry, darling. We don't serve that here.
Any Merlot?
I'm pretty sure you don't want these feet going nowhere near them grapes.
Alrighty, how about a craft beer?
Oh, yeah. We got plenty of crap beer. Which one you want?
No, not crap beer. craft beer?
Oh, no, hell no. I'm pretty sure the bar down the street serves that.
Okay, well, what do you serve?
I'm glad you asked. Welcome to the Backwoods Bar Cast. We serve up moonshine, cheap beer, bottom shelf liquor, and stories even harder to swallow. Join Nick
And Brittany.
and the janitor Steven as we discuss southeastern mysteries and mayhem, including but not limited to UFOs, true crime, the paranormal, and much more. So knock 4 times, grab a stool, let the bar talk commence, and as always, drink more beer.
This is Weird on the Rocks, a podcast that explores the weird, unusual, strange, and unexplained, all while getting our drink on. Join me every other Monday as I share a different cocktail and discuss true crime, paranormal stories, unexplained phenomena, conspiracy theories, and much more. Find Weird on the Rocks on social media, the website weirdontherocks.weebly.com, and listen on all of your favorite podcast apps. And don't forget to cheers and stay weird.
Indie Blast Podcast Network.